I think we should probably get started so that we can get on to the main event, which will follow my part. First of all, welcome everyone to the 91st annual meeting of the Greenwich Historical Society. It is so lovely to see all of you here together in person. I'm Haley Elmlinger. I'm one of the two co-chairs of the Board of Trustees, and we are delighted to be here at the beautiful Riverside Yacht Club. Before I proceed, I've been asked to remind everyone to stand for a moment of silence at sunset for the lowering of the flags. Now, to the first order of business, the approval of the minutes of last year's annual meeting, which each of you should have on your chair. May I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second? All in favor? Thank you, they pass. I would now like to invite Robert Getz of our Finance Committee to present the Treasurer's report.
Good evening. Thank you, Haley. I am presenting the finance report, the Treasurer's report tonight on behalf of Heinz Muesli, who could not be here this evening as he's traveling in Switzerland. I'm glad to say the state of the Historical Society's finances is very good. The following provides an overview of the fiscal year that ended June 30th, 2022. At the time of this publication, the audit was not yet complete. However, we do expect to have this report completed by the end of September. We do not expect any significant adjustments. When completed, the audited financial statements and Form 990 will be posted on our website and be available in hard copy at the Historical Society. We had a very solid fiscal year 2022. Again, our fiscal year ends in June, and realized a net profit of $160,000 versus a budgeted loss of several $100,000. We're not for profit. We made a profit. We exceeded our fundraising goals, created new community programs such as Discover Greenwich, and hosted successful special events, History in the Making, just to name one. And for those of you that were able to attend it, it was quite an event, and we doubled our net goals for that event, so we're very proud of that. We also continue to significantly improve results from our ancillary activities, such as the museum store, the facility rental business, the tavern green markets, and our concerts. Despite challenges presented in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida in September 2021 that resulted in damages to the museum building, we managed to perform better than budgeted in fiscal 22. Operating revenues, excluding investment return, and revenues from assets released were $1.83 million, significantly better than our budget of $1.38 million, and actuals of $875,000 in fiscal year 21. Gains of $170,000 in our investment portfolio and revenues of $316,000 released from assets bring our total revenues in fiscal year 22 to $2.33 million, which compares, again, favorably to our budget of $1.75 million and actuals of $1.35 million in fiscal year 21. Total operating expenses, including depreciation of $370,000, were $2.44 million compared to a budget of $2.49 million and actuals of $2.28 million in 21. As in 21, another small business administration paycheck protection program loan of $190,000 was forgiven in 2022. This income and $102,000 assets released from our capital account amount to a total of $292,000 of other income. The Historical Society ended fiscal year 2022 with net assets of $24.5 million. We are all looking forward to the coming year, and we are focused on increasing our revenues by fully leveraging our new programs, exhibits, and upgraded museum. And Heinz wanted me to make sure to thank everyone in this audience and all our supporters and members who've made these results possible. That concludes my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Now I'd like to invite Barbara McDonald up to present the report of the Governance Committee.
Let's see. The following trustees are presented for election at the 2022 annual meeting of the Greenwich Historical Society for the class of 2025. They are Holly Casson, Alexandra Kaminsky, Thomas Clefane, Lauren DuPont, Chip Emery, Heather Georges, Connie Ann Harris, Michael Kovner, Isabel Malkin, I'm missing this one, Mimi Moulton, sorry, Mimi, Ann Ogaby, Davida Strackline, and Dimitri Wright.
Thank you, Barbara. Now may I have a motion to approve the slate as presented by Barbara? Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. The motion passed, and I would like to say a special welcome to our 4 new trustees, Lauren, Chip, Mimi, and Connie Ann. We are delighted to have all 4 of you joining us. Now I'd like to invite my board co-chair, Catherine Tompkins, up to say a few words about our outgoing trustees.
Great. Thank you, Haley. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to recognize 2 very special board members and their outstanding service for the Greenwich Historical Society. First, we'd like to acknowledge Hugh Vanderbilt. Hugh is the 2nd-generation Vanderbilt to serve on the board and to make significant contributions to the Historical Society. Both Hugh's mother and father were board members. He has 16 years of service on the board, and he served as a member of the Finance and Executive Committees. Hugh couldn't be with us tonight, but we have a special gift that we will get to him, and we are certainly very grateful for all that he's done for the Historical Society. Next, we would like to recognize Deborah Royce. Deborah served on the board for 14 years, from 2008 to 2022. She was a member of the Development Committee. She supported the restoration of the art studio in the Bush Holly House, as well as art exhibitions on American Impressionism and the Armory Show. Deborah was truly a huge force behind our annual Antiquarius fundraiser, including hosting a very special and memorable patron party, and even opening up her home for the house tour. These were sort of the nuts and bolts of what Deborah contributed, but really her fingerprints were on so much more. I just can think of countless times that we reached out to her and asked her to extend her contacts on our behalf to host a beautiful party, or just, to be there and to be generous in so many ways. And we're certainly going to miss her. And I think you're going to have to change your phone number, Deborah, because I can't promise that we're going to stop calling you, but we're truly grateful for everything that you've done for this organization. And we have a special gift for you. Please.
Thank you. More from me later, but thank you. It's an extraordinary institution and really one of the bedrocks of Greenwich, and something that we can all be so very proud of. And thank you for allowing me to be a small part of it.
Thank you, Deborah. Back to Haley.
Thank you, Catherine. I would now like to welcome to the podium our Executive Director and CEO, Deborah Mecke, to present her report.
Great. Well, thank you, Haley. It's been such a pleasure again this year to work closely with you and co-chair Catherine Tompkins to lead the Historical Society through yet another impactful year, especially as we celebrate 90 years of service to the Greenwich community. Now, I know some of you historians in the audience may be asking, if we were founded in 1931, aren't we 91 this year? And the answer is that we are still 90 until December, because we were chartered as an educational institution by the state of Connecticut on December 8th, 1931. For over 25 years, the Historical Society's first home was the Perrott Memorial Library in Old Greenwich, until our move to Cos Cob with the 1957 acquisition of the Bush Holly House, today a national treasure, built in 1730 and home to Connecticut's first art colony. Leaping forward to today, the Greenwich Historical Society reimagined its campus and significantly expanded its programs and services to the community in 2018. For the first time, our historic site and gardens became outdoor public spaces, providentially ahead of the global pandemic. New offerings included tavern garden markets organized by Danny Suozo, shown here on the right, with Ann Getz and her amazing dahlias. Our new outdoor green space became the site of our popular Music on the Great Lawn series, now in its second year and sponsored again by First Bank of Greenwich. The green space also made possible a robust site rental program, also spearheaded by Danny, with support from Michelle Couture. The rentals have recognized real growth due to the public's desire to return to group events, with the option to host parties in an outdoor setting. The historic barn was transformed for those who also wanted intimate indoor spaces for the events, such as rehearsal dinners and wedding anniversaries. The barn hosted our annual course for realtors, presented in cooperation with the Greenwich Association of Realtors, as well as our partnership with Karen McKenna of Caldwell Banker to offer creative workshops in the barn inspired by the Bush Holly site. First Selectman Fred Camillo proclaimed May 12th through December 31st, 2022, Discover Greenwich 90th Anniversary Celebration, and invited all residents and friends to join the celebration by participating in events that promote a sense of place and belonging, spark dialogue, and inspire meaningful connections across our diverse community. Stephanie Barnett organized a plein air painting workshop with Dimitri Wright and 6 walking tours led by community historians and docents, which brought people out for firsthand walks in historic neighborhoods and parks. A new walking tour app was added to our website so that each tour can be accessed anytime for a self-guided tour. Community activities included Greenwich's first town-wide scavenger hunt in July, when teams competed in a thrilling race to uncover clues that highlight local legends and treasures. 8 teams followed 48 clues to compete for the grand prize, and the winner was the Green Witches. In 17 days, our long-anticipated 90th anniversary dinner and dance will feature Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Doris Kearns Goodwin. In a polarized world, her scholarship on 4 presidents through the lens of leadership is both instructive and reassuring. We look forward to welcoming her to Bush Holly House and to Easterly for the festivities planned by our 90th anniversary committee, Holly Casson, Barbara McDonald, Ann Ogaby, and Heather Sargent. Behind the scenes, with the input of our wider community, the board and staff created an updated strategic plan to guide us through the next 3 years. In response to the changed world in which we find ourselves, we deepened our commitment to tell a fuller history of the town to a broader audience in order to build a more informed and just society. In the fall of 2021, our first David Ogaby Preservation Award was presented posthumously to David F. Ogaby, who was for over 40 years an inspirational leader in preservation of Greenwich's historic buildings and landscapes. We thank Heather Sargent and Alexander Comiskey for chairing the honorary committee. Among the Greenwich landmarks recognized that night were those associated with women of distinction, including the late Mary Tyler Moore, who cherished her stately 1912 Fieldstone residence in Greenwich. And the trailblazing brutalist new home for the YWCA, built in 1967, was presented a bronze plaque, making it the first modern landmark inspired by women activists of the 300 landmarks plus that we have documented to date. Robin Cancel chaired our jury, and program sponsor Charles Hilton joined her to present the bronze plaques. Throughout the seasons, the Historical Society brought people together, from the Scarecrow Festival in October to the Easter egg hunt each spring. And our 3rd annual Festival of Trees returned under the direction of Barbara Johan. Her oversight of our museum store has resulted in significant growth in revenue, in part for its unique offerings, and our great team of Barbara and associate Kathy Stephanatis. Candlelight tours of Bush Holly House delighted many families and included a visit with St. Nicholas and s'mores around the fire pit. Throughout the year, we were excellent stewards of our National Historic Bush Holly House, repairing the front porches, replacing wooden siding, and installing new thermal storm windows. New special themed tours of the museum included women's history tours of the Bush and Holly era and slavery-themed tours for students, presented by Assistant Curator for Interpretation, Kelsey Dalton. The Historical Society made a significant contribution to the scholarship on Greenwich's prominent place in American art history through our publication of Life and Art, the Greenwich Paintings of John Henry Twachtman. It was authored by Lisa N. Peters and funded in part by the Wyeth Foundation for American Art. Our special exhibitions gallery closed for a year due to recovery efforts from Tropical Storm Ida, but we will open the galleries again on October 19th with the long-anticipated exhibition of Twachtman's Greenwich paintings. Maggie Dimmick has organized the show and related programs to run from October 19th through January 15th. And our team is also hard at work to open the next exhibition and public programs on Greenwich's role in sports, which will begin March 2023. The work to install storm drains, because we did make major improvements on our site after the storm, led to the discovery of a bottle pit behind the Justice Luke Bush storehouse. Archives digital project manager Dean McKenna, also an archaeology graduate, led our student interns Michaelia Browing and Eleanor Vinnie and the staff to clean the specimens. And Dean continues to catalog the wine bottles and animal bones and slipware from the 1700s and 1800s for preservation in the archives. Our youth and family program manager, Heather Lodge, made sure we kept our commitment to reach every student in Greenwich schools throughout the pandemic, adapting to a virtual format for those teachers not yet electing to return for in-person programs. And about half of them did return last year. And working with Greenwich Academy and Sacred Heart 8th graders to research and place witness stones, individuals who were enslaved by the Bush family over the 100-year period between 1730 and 1830 were honored. Candace Bush and her children, Hester and Jack, comprised one enslaved family, among others, who lived in the Bush household and who were emancipated in the 1820s by Connecticut's gradual emancipation laws. A remarkable woman, Hester, worked for the headmaster at Greenwich Academy and provided a home for her mother and her son. She also purchased 2 headstones that have survived today in Greenwich's Union Cemetery. Her son, unfortunately, died in the Civil War. Just one of those stories of what happens to the enslaved people and later on, so an irony. In addition to reaching every student in Greenwich schools through the 3rd grade, Sarah and her town programs, we offered free programs to every child in the 1st through 5th grades in 2 of the town's Title I schools, Hamilton Avenue and, new this past year, New Lebanon School. New Lebanon students are seen here taking part in the Meeting People in Portraits workshops taught by artists in the classroom, following study of the historic portraits in Bush Holly House. Our Title I school programs are made possible by our Title I school endowment funds and the proceeds from our 2021 History in the Making dinner, at which we honored Barbara and Ray Dalio for their philanthropy, raising over $1 million for the Education Fund. We also received a generous request from a former member, Hedda Windisch van Goben. The fortuitous timing of her gift, which was partly used to make improvements after the storm, reminds us all to include the Greenwich Historical Society in our estate planning. This is a wonderful way to continue the investment made during our lifetimes into the future. There are so many people to thank for our success, not limited to the past year. Looking back, with the help of Davida Strackbine, we identified over 420 board members and volunteer leaders who were instrumental in our evolution from a small, one-room historical society to the vibrant historic site and campus we enjoy today. Our fun and festive Fall Fete was chaired by Mimi Moulton, Alexander Kittle, Holly Casson, Deb Robinson, Douglas Granito, Catherine Tompkins, and Heather George, and included a special appearance by the Bumbies. The beautiful evening was held at a former great estate at Old Mill Farm, once the residence of Mel Gibson, and today a nonprofit cultural center known as Foundation House. Our success would not be possible without the extraordinary contributions of our many members and friends, together with the dedicated leaders of our annual Greenwich Historic Trust Appeal, led again this year by Robert Getz, Ann Ogaby, and Deb Robinson, and coordinated by Director of Development Ryan Knuckle. A reception for donors to the Greenwich Historic Trust was held at the Harbor Point estate of Bill Deutsch in Riverside, Connecticut. And a special thank you to each member of our professional staff and our docents, many whose work goes unrecognized, but who together further the impact of the Historical Society every day. And my final slide here, together we are stepping into a new chapter, ensuring that our connection to the community runs deep and that we engender a sense of place, rooted in the past and committed to creating a better future. We believe our work will ultimately lead to respectful and responsible behavior toward all people and the built and natural world around us. So thank you all for your faithful support of the Greenwich Historical Society.
Thank you, Deborah, for that incredible report. And before I adjourn, I would like to acknowledge Deborah Mecke's exceptional leadership once again this year. What you just saw was an incredibly full, robust programming slate, and this was all done in the context of very major repairs on our site, and she did an extraordinary job managing that and keeping the doors open all through the year. Really, Deborah, that is the hallmark of a great leader, is somebody that can adapt and flex the way you do, and this was an incredible year, so thank you for your leadership. And secondly, I must thank, yeah, please. And I also need to thank her incredible team. You have built a wonderful team. They have put in so much time and effort this year, again, managing alongside all of this wonderful programming, the reconstruction of our site. And it really has taken so much out of everybody, and we are so grateful to the team that you've built. So thank you, team. And then lastly, I will just join the others in thanking all of you, our loyal members and patrons. We are so grateful that you have stayed with us through the ups and downs of the last few years. And without your generosity, none of what we do would be possible, so thank you.